everybody. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch, and in today's episode, we're asking the question, is predatory lending your fault? Predatory lending, of course, references companies that exist in the subprime space, offering loans to people who can't otherwise get them because no bank will work with them. This is prompted by an article I read this week by an investigative journalist that did a study of a company called Exeter Financial. Exeter does auto loans in the subprime space, particularly working with the nation's largest used car dealer, CarMax. And what the investigative journalist found is that Exeter sometimes charges people, because of the interest rate, up to 6 times the value of a car, meaning by the time someone finishes their loan, they've actually paid 6 times the original amount that they needed to borrow. Exeter has some other practices that are troubling, including offering so-called 2-month loan forgiveness, a 2-month period where because of circumstances, you don't have to pay your bill, which results in a balloon payment attached to the end, increasing the overall amount and even sometimes resulting in repossession of a car that the person thought they were actually paying off. All this talk about predatory lending begs the question, whose fault is it? Because it's an unjust practice. So who does the Bible tell us to blame? I think the answer to that is 3 different groups of people. The first are companies that do this. Listen, if you're a Christian and you work at a company that you know is targeting the poor, targeting those that are financially illiterate, targeting those who are desperate, and seizing the opportunity of their desperation to ruin them, you need to find a new job. That is an immoral thing to do for a living. Look, loving your neighbor doesn't mean you can't do business with your neighbor. It doesn't even mean you can't make a profit off of your neighbor. It does absolutely mean you cannot take advantage of your neighbor. And if you feel like your company is doing that, I want to encourage you that that's probably more spiritually toxic than you think. You need to find some work that you can do that resonates with your conscience. The second group of people, though, of course, are the adults themselves who are signing the loans. Listen, companies like Exeter put a contract in front of you, but that contract only becomes damaging if and when you sign it. The reality is that we have to realize when banks are telling us they will not loan us money, it's because that purchase is incredibly unwise for you to make. When that company comes along and says, well, we'll help you when no one else will, it's not out of the kindness of their heart. It's because their business is your desperation. We have to realize that sometimes we want things we cannot afford. And the answer to that isn't to sign a contract with 25% interest. The answer is to walk or take the bus, to take those monthly payments and put them in the bank until they accrue enough that we can go to a car dealer and pay cash for that car. The reality is that until we learn to tell ourselves no, there will always be someone to make a profit off of our yes. And then third, I think I'm to blame. I think people like me who are listening to this podcast and saying, hey, this doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not operating in a predatory lending space, and I would never take a loan at 25%. And that might be true. But the truth is that other people are. And the churches are full of people who can coach others financially, who can speak to financial illiteracy, who can volunteer as financial coaches to teach financial classes, to help that single mom understand why subprime lending is so awful for her. Listen, if you are financially savvy and you can't find an area to serve in the church, your answer isn't necessarily to become a door greeter or an usher or work in the nursery. Go to your pastor and say, how can I get involved in helping people make good financial decisions? And then, of course, we have to become a community that is generous to those that are struggling within our community. The way to help a person who can't afford a car might be to buy them a car. It might be to give them one. It might be to say, hey, what if I drive you to work for the next 3 months while you put money away and we go together to buy a car that you save the money for? Because that's going to teach you a lot more than taking out a bad loan. Listen, predatory lending is awful. It's ruining people's lives. And we actually can change it simply by being the church. Let's all look in the mirror and take responsibility for our part and seek to move the kingdom forward by saving people from such a terrible practice. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. While you're here, we'd love to ask you to hit subscribe or to like so you get future content. If you listen to the audio version too, make sure you leave a review and a comment. That really helps. Consider sharing it on social media and helping us get the word out. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content that Christ Community Chapel is putting out, including the videos that are around me right now.